All right, so today we are talking about, let me cut this echo down. Today we're talking about the Allen Domb. Allen Domb decided to implement some rules for quote unquote wholesalers, but that's where the whole misconception comes in, where the whole confusion comes in, because what you have is a mass amount of people calling themselves wholesalers when they're really just contract assigners. Um, Someone who assigned contracts is called an assigner, not a wholesaler. Some wholesalers require a license for tax reasons. A wholesaler is taxed differently than the person who sells items at the store. The wholesale rule doesn't change because of real estate. You still have to purchase. You still have to purchase the house first before you can wholesale it. And you're wholesaling the house, not a contract. So let's not confuse ourselves and start lowering our IQs by ignoring the title assigner and calling ourselves wholesalers. So for the beginners who don't know, let's get into the basics of contract and contract law, etc. And what I have on the screen here is the Black Law 6th edition of assigning. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll through this, and this is recorded. So as you see at the top on the right hand side of page 118, we have assign: to transfer, make over, set over to another, to appoint, select, or designate for a particular purpose or duty, to point at or point out, set forth or specify, to mark out or designate, to particularize as to assign errors on a writ of error, to assign breaches of covenant. And as you see, this is the basis of assign. So when you are in real estate, you are dealing with contracts, and these contracts are assignable by law. There wouldn't be a title of assigner. If you were to start implementing rules on assigning agreements, you would have to challenge every bank in America that assigns mortgages to secondary mortgage companies like Ginnie Mae, Fannie Mae. When they pool these things to keep money in the banking system, they are assigning mortgages. So you cannot require someone to get a license because you feel that that market is a threat, or you feel like you were left out. All right, so now as you go further into it, it goes assigned, assigned counsel, assigned risk. All of these are basically saying you are transferring over the powers that you have in a contract, or whatever the case may be, when you assign it. And these people are called assigners. Now, as you see here to the right, they have the definition of assignee: a person to whom an assignment is made, like a grantee, so to say. So this would be your end buyer. Now, you're not going to call yourself a wholesaler and your end buyer is a wholesalee. That's just lowering your IQ even further. YouTube has made a lot of people dumb. A lot of famous people have gotten rich off the dumbness. However, don't fall for it. Know the laws. All right, assigning contracts was around way before YouTube, way before it was called wholesaling by the trend. You know, to wholesale correctly, there are several ways you can close it, and I'll get into that later. But a dry closing, you can use transactional funds. You could do a double closing, but you must close first. You know, if you're not closing on the property, you can't market the address. I see a lot of people ignoring that rule right now, and it's going to make it hard for everybody. You cannot ignore these rules for the pursuit of happiness or a quick buck. And if you want to make some quick money, you shouldn't even be assigning contracts. You should be doing sub two deals to where you're just getting down payments for your keys and not clearing title. So there is more to real estate than assigning contracts. But if you are an assigner, or you want to be in a business of contracts, know the rules. So an assignee is the person you're assigning it to. Now, under UCC, assigning is subject to all defenses which may be asserted against assigner by account debtor. As you see here, we have assigner. We'll go ahead and talk to some more about this. You have an assignee clause. Now, that is a clause, a provision in Judiciary Act of 1789. 1789. That's well over 200. I think slavery was probably going on at this time. They were probably assigning slaves when they implemented all these rules, and they wasn't calling it wholesaling. If Jimbo had a contract on Uncle Bebo from the farm, and he assigned that contract to someone else, he's not going to call himself a wholesaler. So just to give you an idea, we're talking about 1789. So then you got right here, assignment, the act of transferring to another all or part of one's property, interest, and here's the big word, rights. When you assign a contract, you are assigning your rights to that contract away. That means you need to get your money at signature. That's a different conversation. A transfer or making over to another the whole of any property or personal in possession and or in action or of any estate or right therein. It includes transfers of all kinds of property. Higgins versus Moncton, 28 Cal App 2D 72383 P2D 516 519, including negotiable instruments. There are case laws that back up assignments and assigners that can challenge this Allen Domb rule that we're going to go to next. You cannot change rules that have been around for hundreds of years. All right. Here's the assigner right here on this side, if you can see to the right. A person who assigns or transfers property to another. And then they have some more information on assignments. I highly recommend that you do your research, understand the rules. Assigner estoppel in patent law, this doctrine precludes one who has assigned rights in a patent from later contending that what he has assigned was invalid. Diamond Scientific Company versus Ambico Inc., CA Fed 848 F2D 1220. You have case study laws in effect that you cannot overrule because you are jealous or upset at the marketing of your competitors. So it's clear to say that we see that assignments, assigning, and assigner has been implemented since 1789. There are rules in place backing up the legality of assigning contracts by law. Let's go a little further. So now we have the basics again. An assigner is an original party to the contract. An assigner can be an individual, a group, or a business, your LLC. Now, if you want to know a way around that, when you put a property under contract, use your LLC, and you can just sell the LLC instead of assigning the contract. There are many ways to skin a cat. Just need to talk to one. So now, if assigner is the party that transfer its contractual rights to another party in a contract assignment, this means that the assigner transfers both the contractual obligations and the contractual benefits, so to say, the property. I'm going to keep going. Of course, assignments we've covered in the previous Black Laws Dictionary. Assignment is the legal term whereby an individual, the assigner, transfers rights, property, or other benefits to another known as the assignee. This might be a copy straight out of the Black Laws Dictionary. And of course, when we go to the go-to website for investors and beginners, Investopedia, an assigner is a person, company, or other entity who transfers rights that they hold to another, so on and so on. So now, let's look at, we understand what contracts are. A contract is a legally enforceable promise, or as defined in Black Law Dictionary, 5th edition, an agreement between two or more persons which creates an obligation to do or not to do a particular things. Okay, so we understand contracts. We are knocking this information down. What is a contract? I think we understand what a contract is. A contract can be verbal. And of course, we can go into breach of contract. They should have the good faith covenant on here as well, but that's not the point. The point of this is this gentleman right here. And as you see, I honestly believe that when you try to sell someone, they need to do a criminal background check and be licensed to implement a legal right that's been implemented since the 1700s, as we just researched. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. And as luck would have it, this man's name is Allen Domb. Can't make that up. Mr. Domb has decided that it is a great idea to challenge his competitors. Like most realtors, they are not familiar with the strategies investors use. So let's take a look at this gentleman. Seems to be a very nice gentleman. Council member Allen Domb, member of the Philadelphia City of Council. 40 years experience as an entrepreneur in the real estate industry. He considers himself an entrepreneur. He represents 1.5 million Philadelphians. He is focused on community safety, reducing poverty. He's reducing poverty, growing job opportunities. Imagine that. Attracting new business to expand the city tax base and creating blah, blah, so on and so on. So let's go deeper into this. Let's see what else he does. This is his website. Looks like he has been busy. He has properties for sale. He actually, look, you want to sell my home? Why would he have that option on there, I wonder? Want to sell my home. Seems like he's a competitor. Just that alone is a red flag. So what happens if you want to sell your home to Mr. Domb? Let's find out. Sell your Center City home, Condor commercial property. He has been selling homes. Wow. So he is a realtor, not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur cannot call themselves a realtor. You have to be licensed. See, this is copyrighted. So he is purely competition. Neat little website. He has a phone number here. I will probably send him an email. Now, here it is. Oh, his first piece of land since he was 12 years old and wanted to become the condo king of Philadelphia. Let that sit in. He thinks he's the king. Probably follows Donald Trump everywhere he goes. He decided to dive into the dirty world of Philly politics. All right, let's see. Let's see how he conducts business. And here we go. We buy houses cash fast for all you wholesalers who like to be called a wholesaler, who take pride in labeling yourself. Don't do it. They are painting a bad picture of you guys. Councilman Domb introduces bill to protect homeowners from cash from home solicitation. Swallow that in. It's October 2020. He introduced legislation that will provide protection to homeowners from solicitation and related problems, from solicitation and related problems, from wholesalers. Stop calling yourself that. The legislation amends the city code under protection against unlawful discrimination. Protection against unlawful discrimination. And establishes monitoring and enforcement regulation for business and individuals who might try to take advantage of homeowners with quick cash payments or other enticements. So the quick cash offer is what he's targeting. The bill will require all entities to obtain a residential property wholesaler license in order to conduct business in the city. To conduct business. And here's where it's going to get you right here. A background check will be performed to determine if the applicant has not within the past 6 years been convicted of any crime of fraud, dishonesty, deceit, or has violated ethic laws. Ethic laws. So you could take that how you want to. When they make laws, it covers a wide variety of areas. If you want to get caught up in that wholesaler mumbo jumbo, by all means, go for it. But he says the purpose of this bill is to protect homeowners from being victims to wholesale buying practices that have been occurring for far too long in some of our most vulnerable neighborhoods. The city needs to hold individuals and businesses accountable for their actions and ensure fair practices are in place at all times. Any agreement of sale, here we go. Any agreement of sale entered into by a residential property wholesaler who was not licensed at the time of the solicitation may be rescinded at any time prior to the transfer of title. That means he's saying your contracts can be null and void anytime. Who is going to enforce that? I have no idea. Who's going to tell them, hey, this guy is assigning a contract? However, wholesaling is not assigning contracts. I think someone needs to enlighten him on that. He has made a law off ignorance. You cannot call assigning contracts wholesaling. Residential property wholesalers will be prohibited from knowingly making false promises, untruthfully advertising, or engaging in any conduct which demonstrates bad faith, dishonesty, untrustworthiness in the course of soliciting residential property. The legislation will require wholesalers to inform the homeowner how to access resources that assess the fair value of residential property, such as Philadelphia Office of Property Assessment's website. Why we have to use that, I don't know. Or any private real estate assessment tool. It will also require homeowners to be informed about their ability to hire. Here it is. It requires you to inform them to hire a real estate agent. I can't make this up. He is cornering the market, people. And if you have experience like I do, lawyers mess up tons of deals. Now, by curbing the worst abuses in residential wholesaling industry, this bill will ensure homeowners get a fair price for their property and help families build intergenerational wealth, said Michael Rokelinch, managing attorney of Community Legal Services. It will also allow homeowners in rapidly gentrifying neighborhoods to opt out of the aggressive solicitations from the We Buy Houses companies. And you can read this, it's a lot. Basically, he's cornering the market. It is completely, I don't know, just foolery in my opinion. The whole idea that he's basing this off solicitation is another conversation that can be brought up, but it is based off of signing contracts. If you are truly a wholesaler, you should be closing on these deals. There shouldn't be no false promises. Now, if you are signing contracts to an investor friend of yours, always come in as a partner to where you are an acquisition manager for their partner. But the idea that they are trying to enforce these rules is asinine. I challenge it, but I do say this: do not call yourself a wholesaler. Wholesaling is just one of many strategies in real estate. All that is required of you is basically 3 hours, 2.7 to be exact, a day of real estate activities, building or talking or doing something involved in real estate to be considered a real estate professional and get the real estate business tax breaks. It's definitely a good title to call yourself a real estate professional instead of a wholesaler. And I hope that you understand that assigning contracts are not just purchase agreements. You can assign leases, you can assign lease options, you can assign installment agreements. Any contract is assignable. The whole idea that he based this off purchase agreements is another thing that can be brought up to the condo king. So that's all I had today for that. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out. God bless, and I wish you luck on your journey.